here we are in the Harbour City as we get ready to kickstart the 4th season of the ANZ Championships. Liz Ellis, it's great to have you back for another year. It's going to be a 4-month feast of netball.
Thanks, Kel. It will be. There's been a plethora of signings in the off-season. We've got one of the most even competitions we've ever had in these championships. There are a number of teams who could take it out. For the first round, though, it's pretty apt that we're in the Harbour City. The Swifts are the raging red-hot favourites for this competition. 44% of coaches and captains surveyed from the other teams said the Swifts are the team to beat. First, though, they've got to get over the Adelaide Thunderbirds, last year's premiers. That won't be an easy thing.
So much to talk about. I can't wait to start talking about it with you. Last year was pretty good. This year is going to be even better.
In 2010, the Adelaide Thunderbirds in front of 10,000 people here, and the celebrations begin.
Well, the wait is finally over. 7 months after the Adelaide Thunderbirds took out netball's biggest prize, they are back in enemy territory to confront this year's championship favourites, and the fans simply can't wait. They are flocking here in Sydney already. As I say, good afternoon and welcome to Sydney Olympic Park. Kelly Underwood alongside former Australian captain Liz Ellis. And Liz, 12 rounds, it's going to be non-stop. Something like 17 players have switched clubs over summer. It's going to be hard to keep up.
Thanks, Kel. It's great to be back. Yeah, and try keeping up with that. The first thing we have to keep up with, though, is today's game. Should be an absolutely brilliant match. Last year's premiers, the Thunderbirds, they swept all before them. They were magnificent. Coming up against last year's minor premiers, the Swifts, who were good up until the finals. Great start to the year.
Well, what must be racing through these girls' head at the moment? We see them in the rooms preparing to come out for a new season. It was absolute heartbreak last year. They went through the entire season undefeated and then, of course, out in straight sets.
They were, but they've sort of made up for things this year. They are the favourites. I think, though, that Vixens are the team to watch. They recruited beautifully through the year. They deserve to be probably equal favourite with the Swifts, I think.
Well, one person who was certainly overseeing the disaster that ended at the end of last year was their coach, Julie Fitzgerald. Julie, you must be very relieved that it's not only a new year, but a new season and a time for a clean slate.
It is. I think we've had a really long pre-season in some ways, but in other ways it feels really short. But the girls are well and truly ready to play today, I think.
Julie, one of the major things that happened for you in the pre-season was signing Monia Gerard. What's it like to have her back? It is the story of the day, her coming up against her old club, the Adelaide Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds, and what's she been like this week?
She's been really good. Monia came back to us and it was great to have her back. She's a New South Wales girls and we like to see them playing in Sydney colours. She had an injury early on, but she's back training fully now and she's been a great contributor both on and off the court.
Another great contributor for the Swifts is Vanessa Ware. She had a season-ending injury last year, did her knee, had I guess the sort of surgery that isn't really common. She had last surgery, a synthetic ligament put in her knee. How's she?
She's tremendous. I cannot get over how quickly she recovered from her knee. Obviously it took a hell of a lot of hard work and she put that in. She had a bit of a back niggle earlier on and we didn't think we were going to have her for the first rounds, but she's here, so we're pleased about that.
Well, Julie, all the best this afternoon. I know the netball community can't wait for this season opener to get underway. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Julie Fitzgerald, the coach of the New South Wales Swifts. It is the season. The season opener of the ANZ Championships, the New South Wales Swifts going head-to-head with the Adelaide Thunderbirds. We do apologise for some technical difficulties that we are having with our broadcast, but we are back live now. Liz Ellis, we were talking about the lineups, the preview of the Swifts.
No surprise in the Swifts' attacking lineup. It is experienced, it is strong, and it will stay as is. What we're looking at is a defensive lineup. Julie Fitzgerald has a pretty nice headache, a huge amount of depth in that defensive unit. Monia Gerard comes on to wing defence, which pushes Kim Smith to the sideline. She may get a look in, though, at some stage during this game. Sonia McClellan and Rebecca Bully, no surprises that they make up the back end.
Bit of a surprise, though, in the Adelaide Thunderbirds starting seven because Jo Sutton, back from a very nasty Achilles injury, gets a start.
She does. She did her Achilles in the first round last year, so fingers crossed for her it's a different result this year. She comes in at wing defence. Now, everyone's talked about Gerard and Mentor being lost from the Thunderbirds back two, but I like who they've got there. Shani Layton had a standout year at wing defence for the Thunderbirds last year. She gives them height and she also gives them aggression in that goalkeeper position. Cara Richards at goal defence is a great option as well.
New year and a new look. They're in the hot pink. There's Natalie von Bertouch, the oldest player on this list, the captain at 28, and she's in career best form.
I think it's fair to say, quite simply, Natalie von Bertouch is the best centre court player in the world at the moment.
Won the Liz Ellis Diamond last year as well after a very important person. Let's get to a feature that we caught up with Natalie von Bertouch over summer at her home in Adelaide. This is ANZ away from the game.
I'm Nat von Bertouch and welcome to my backyard. I've only been here a couple of months and my garden needs a bit of work, so I've brought along a number of teammates to help me out.
We're your teammates, Nat, not your slaves. So why are you punishing us?
Well, I'm your captain, guys, so what I say goes, so let's get cracking.
It's not fair, I think you're really mean. I think you're really mean. I think you're really mean.
At the moment, in the most recent off-season, I've been renovating my house. I've been here for 4 months and done a fair bit, actually. Obviously not the backyard, but now that's underway as well. So step by step, I'm getting closer to having a house that I really love. Looks a bit bare here. You didn't plan that out very well. Don't blame me!
There's the biggest spider on the...
I think to win, you know, you have to have that self-belief, and from 2009 losing the grand final, we knew what we had to do to get the win, and that was the difference in 2010.
Can she deliver gold for New Zealand? She has!
The Silver Ferns gold medalist!
And so, the final gold medal.
2010 was probably one of the best and one of the worst that I've had. Losing the Commonwealth Games gold medal was probably the worst loss that I've ever had to deal with.
But New Zealand win the final gold medal of the Commonwealth Games here in Delhi in the most extraordinary circumstances.
Took a while to get over, but new year, new focus, and we've got world champs this year, so I'm sure the Australian Diamonds can get over that loss and make sure that the World Championships becomes a victory for us. Shantz, can you pass me the hose? I absolutely love Adelaide and love the Thunderbirds. I've grown up watching the Thunderbirds, and now, you know, that's where I want to, if all goes well, finish my career at the Thunderbirds. And my personal goals for 2011 is with the young Thunderbirds team to help and support the young girls as they develop throughout the year. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to doing. Sometimes life as a netballer means you're not around that much. So I really enjoy just having, getting my friends around and having a barbie and catching up with them, because they don't care that I play netball and they don't want to talk about it. So it's a really nice, step away from the game. Long-term goal in netball is to make sure that I'm continuing to be competitive and being able to improve year by year. I want to make sure, for me, I need to have that motivation to keep playing, and I think while I still think that I can improve, I'll keep going for as long as I can. For 2011, we expect to win the grand final again. Back-to-back is absolutely what we're aiming for and what we think that we can achieve, and we know that we've got a really strong group that can get us over the line again.
Done!
Yay! Well done, girls. That is a wrap.
Bang, bang, bang on the wall from dusk till dawn.
The ANZ away from the game with Natalie von Bertouch. Liz, 28, the oldest player in this squad. It's quite remarkable. They've actually got 3 teenagers.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? When you look at the oldest player at the other end of the court is Catherine Cox, and I don't think I'm giving away too much by telling the world that she's 34. So it was really interesting speaking to Jane Woodlands-Thompson this week. She talks about regeneration rather than rebuilding. She doesn't want the Thunderbirds to have any excuses this year about having a young team. They are regenerating and they've got some exciting talent.
As you can see, we've got a new feature this year. We're running a Lorraine Lee poll every Sunday, and we ask the question. All you need to do is jump online at the One website. The question today: who will be the team to beat in 2011? We'll have the results after today's game. Your answer?
Oh, look, the Swifts look good. I think the Vixens are looking exceptionally good, but I really struggle to go past the Thunderbirds team that, even though they've lost some players, they're a young side, they're a smart team, and the Thunderbirds all the way through their history have been a clever side and difficult to beat. So I know only 4% of captains and coaches thought that they would be in the finals, let alone be challenging for the title, but I struggle to write them off.
I'm interested that you say that. To me, it looks like they're rebuilding, but we've got plenty of time to get to that. Getting a close-up view of all the action this afternoon is former Swifts and Diamonds defender Ali Broadbent. Ali, great to have you back on board this year.
Thanks, Cal. It's great to be back. Actually, the Thunderbirds arrived in town yesterday full of confidence from last season's win. I actually spoke with Natalie von Bertouch yesterday about the player changes in her lineup going into this year and what that felt like in the team. And she said, we've got a young, fit team. They're aware, obviously, with the losses that they've had. Their pre-season training preparation has been great, and the girls are ready for a big game today against the Swifts.
Thanks,
so
Sally.
it's going to be a great one.
Look forward to crossing to you throughout the afternoon. Here's the Sportsbet odds. And as you can see, the Swifts, the overwhelming favourite this afternoon. And the big cheer goes up because the captain, Kath Cox, has been introduced to this crowd. Of course, much has been made of their horror year last year. We mentioned 13 straight. It was a record in the ANZ Championship. How much will it sit with them, Liz?
Well, we talked about an R word that Jane Woodlands-Thompson used, which was regeneration. The R word that Julie Fitzgerald came up with was resilience. She felt that they were great last year when everything was going their way, but as soon as the pressure got put on and things got physical and they were challenged, they didn't stand up and be counted. They fell apart a little bit. So that's what they'll be looking to do. And all teams say, oh yes, we've forgotten about that last year. For the Swifts, though, they would have forgotten what they did right maybe, and they would have focused on what they did wrong, and they will want to be out here to make amends. Tough work, though. They're up against the reigning premiers, and there are friends all over the court, people who have been in teams together. Sonia McClomber and Carla Borrego were the 2 international imports for these 2 teams. Whoever wins that battle may very well determine who wins the game, but I'm going to watch Monia Gerard today. It's a massive game for her.
So many questions. Over the course of the next 12 weeks, they will be answered. It's Natalie von Bertouch that gets us underway and the season underway. And here's Jo Sutton.
Jo Sutton, of course, played all of her junior netball with Kimberly Green and Vanessa Ware. She knows them and their games back to front. Erin Bell played for the Swifts.
Moni Gerard coming back from the Thunderbirds. There's interest all over the court.
There's stories galore, isn't there?
There
we might
is.
need 4 hours this afternoon.
Well, the big story is Gerard, though. She was so instrumental for the Thunderbirds last year. She really orchestrated the downfall of the Swifts, and she's playing for the Swifts today. Really great setup there. Cox and Prattley just split the circle, and Prattley under the post.
So it's the T-Birds again. This is Richards, one of those young defenders that we've spoken about. Back to Leighton, elevated to the vice-captain of this side over summer. Just her first year with the Thunderbirds last year.
You can see why when you watch her, she's been given a leadership position. She's got plenty to say. She's super enthusiastic, and she's proven herself. Last year in a grand final winning team, she was one of the best.
Von Bertouch, hesitant on the build-up. This is Bell, a long way out from the post. A breakthrough year for her it was. Sutton back to Richards. Taking their time here.
This is good patient play from a young team with the Thunderbirds. Like Emily Beaton just giving away a contact penalty against her old teammate. I was about to say it was good patient play. They were looking for their options, keeping possession of the ball. That's important.
Here's Gerard, so dominant on the transverse line. Bulling, Green, they share it around. Vanessa Ware would make a pretty nervous start, given that she's coming off a knee reconstruction.
It will take a little while for this Thunderbirds defensive line of Richards and Leighton just to get into the game. Might expect a couple of early mistakes from them, just maybe turnover ball or things like that when they get possession, but I think they'll settle in well. They're both pretty cool customers.
And Kath Cox is on the board. The Thunderbirds, the youngest defence in the league, the average age is 20, and yet you're really rating them this year.
Mainly because of the whole Thunderbirds culture. They are a team, a club that is used to winning. They're a club that are used to losing players and just picking up the pieces and getting on with it. Last year, great work. Shani Leighton.
The Thunderbirds now on transition.
And that's what I'm talking about, Kel. They've got this really great attitude. They've got the ability to run things down. Last year, everyone talked about the loss of Nat Medhurst, yet they went on and won a premiership without her. So they're the sort of club that I think regenerates really well.
Pinpoint pass under the post, and there's Borrego's first goal for the afternoon.
And difficult to write off any team containing Carla Borrego.
What an absolute superstar she was last year, just dominated under the post. Like probably no other player we've seen in the league before. And Bell from long range. So she's found her range quite quickly. Spent a lot of time last year playing out of the circle. Here's Cox over the top to Green. There's a late call against Sutton.
Kim Green. Actually, the call wasn't against Sutton, but Kim making it clear that she just copped a smack in the face for her troubles. The call eventually going against Richards and Prattley making her pay.
Sutton goes wide to Beaton. Emily Beaton didn't get a start in a regular game last year, but just a real breakthrough in the final series.
Emily Beaton's a sort of player who I think has had a lot of talent for a long time but hasn't been particularly consistent. And speaking to Jane Woodlands-Thompson, she said the big challenge for Emily this year is to just get that consistency about her. She feels that the mid-court needs to win the battle every week to give the defenders a chance to play their way into the competition. So big rap for Emily Beaton, but also a fairly big challenge for her as well.
And here she is, receiving the pass over to Bell and then gets it back in the pocket, goes along to Borrego. Just used her space beautifully then in her body, Borrego.
Unfortunately stepped, gave away possession, but you just saw them with Emily Beaton. She's nice and tall, so she used that height well, found a space. I do have to say in the first quarter, red and pink shouldn't be seen.
You're a fashion expert, so
Yeah.
we should listen. A turnover under the post, and now the Thunderbirds are away. It's almost they need a clash strip, don't they, Liz?
They
do. It's quite similar. Over to Bell. Good take under enormous pressure from Bully. Now Borrego. So a bit of a nervy start for Carla Borrego.
Yeah, she's sitting at 1 from 3, and you can put that down to Sonia McCloma's work over the shot. Getting up there on the stretch. Well done, Erin Bell. Clever play. Committed with her outside arm. Didn't get the umpire involved.
Swifts coach Julie Fitzgerald's been good enough to join us early days here. Julie, what have you made of the start so far?
pretty pleased with the start so far. The defensive pressure is good, but whether or not we can maintain that is going to be the key.
Julie, how are you rating Monia's early performance against her old team?
Looks so far so good. I think she was very keen to get out there. She's had a bit of time off the court with an injury, and it's great to see her out there, and I think she was excited to be able to be back.
Julie, what were the last instructions to your team before they went out on the court today for their first match?
I think just to have a quick reflection on the things we've talked about throughout the week. Just remember that one key thing for each of them that they need to remember today.
Terrific, Julie. Thanks for your time. We'll catch up with you in the second half.
Good choice.
And there is nothing in this early stages season opener. Both sides very energised. There's Pratley off the back foot. A little mini break to the Swifts.
Overload play there from the Thunderbirds. They had the wing attack and the goal attack on the same side of the court. Defenders read it pretty well, but eventually it did open up the court for Borrego.
So Carla Borrego could be forgiven for being a little rusty, Liz. She had some visa issues, arrived in Adelaide this week, so she's had less than 5 days to try and acclimatise, get over the jet lag, reacquaint herself with her teammates.
Yeah, well, she got in on Monday. Carla Borrego, just a standout for the Thunderbirds last year, averaged 44.2 goals a game. She needs to get a wriggle on if she's going to get to that today.
No pressure or anything.
She is just an outstanding player.
85% accuracy last year, 574 goals. That will be a figure that we'll be talking about a lot this year to see if she can better that. Get the feeling, if she can, that the Thunderbirds will go a long way deep into the season.
Well, we've talked about Carla Borrego having a bit of a slow start. Kath Cox is the same, just sitting at 1 from 3. Pratley's 5 from 5. It tends to be with Cox and Pratley that when one goes off the ball, the other one steps up. That's what makes them a dangerous combination.
Restart of play. Cox looking for the double play with Green.
Well, Nat von Bertouch unlucky to give away a penalty then. Contested beautifully. She's a great defensive centre. Bit of push and shove there between Cox and Richard. Lots of blonde ponytails flying around. Cox's blonde ponytail, though, wins out.
Not for the first time. Good deflection down. Now the Thunderbirds. Beaten into Bell. From the baseline, wants to give it off, not confident, put Borrego under enormous pressure.
Had she caught and controlled that, would have been a major play. Bit of pepper on that ball.
She provided plenty of highlights last year. Basketball background. Came back to netball after a 7-year absence last year. She was on a basketball scholarship in Miami.
She's been back in Miami coaching over the summer. And
netball or basketball?
Basketball. So apparently came back to Adelaide with a bit of a different view on coaching.
I'm sure Jane Woodlands-Thompson was thrilled to hear that.
Well, I think she understood how difficult it is. Really nice take there from Beaton. Although Bully and McCloma just shutting down Borrego, that means that Bell's going to have to shoulder a bit more shooting responsibility.
And it rolls out, but she'll get a second crack at it. And is that the theory? And rolls out again. So is that the theory, do you think, from the Swifts? They're happy to double team Borrego under the post and let Bell shoot it from long range?
Yeah, I think that's the theory every time you play against the dominant shooter, whether it's Borrego or Van Dyke or Romelda Aitken. For the Firebirds, you really want the goal attack, who may not be used to shooting out a full game, just to take the shots. And you know, sometimes it's not easy to shut someone down by double teaming them. Borrego will eventually find some space, and the feeders will find her, but it's a pretty good start from the Swifts defensive line.
Goal's certainly been hard to come by in this opening quarter.
Yeah, and a good start then from the Thunderbirds defensive line. Shani Layton just read that double play beautifully.
Umberto beaten, that was a high and hope. And certainly didn't come off. Now Gerard over to Bully. Australian teammates, now New South Wales Swifts teammates. Green to Cox. They're Australian representatives all over this court. Now Green.
You're throwing one from England in McCloma and one from Jamaica in Borrego, and it's a super high quality game, and we're seeing that in the score.
So Kath Cox, her third goal from 5 attempts. Over the top. Well picked off by Leighton.
Yeah, that was a laser delivery then from Kim Green. Released the ball low. Leighton read it. Kim Green may as well have sent a letter. It was a great read from Leighton.
And quick movement straight down the corridor results in a goal to Borrego. Oh, it's been taken off her.
I don't know why. I didn't see the call. It may have been a footwork call. It's a worrying sign for the Thunderbirds if that's the case. It's a second footwork call.
Where in the action, Gerard, oh, if you don't mind.
Beautiful pick-up.
And doesn't the crowd love it? Welcome back to Sydney, Monia Gerard.
Welcome back to the court, Vanessa, where we haven't really talked about her, but what a comeback from her. Did her knee in June last year, had really what is still a bit experimental in the way of surgery with the Lars treatment, but looks good.
Fell over the top to Borrego. Now the call goes her way.
Thunderbirds need to score here just to stay in this first quarter. I think they've done a really nice job early, but the scoring rate has dropped off in the last couple of minutes. Borrego's got to put this through.
And she does just that. And they pull it back to a 3-goal ball game.
Really interesting that we're talking about what a defensive game this has been so far, Kel. When you look at the lineups, you would expect for it to be a bit of a shootout. Both teams doing well, though, with their defensive work. Good hands up everywhere, good body work everywhere.
All of a sudden, Kath Cox and Carla Borrego, anything you can do, I can do better. End-to-end stuff.
Borrego looked like she didn't want to shoot that one. She needs to be confident, needs to go to the post.
Beautiful pass, great play by the Swifts. Right from the centre pass.
Better delivery there from Kim Green, better movement there from Cox.
They pull out to a 4-goal lead. Right on the edge of quarter time.
Great hands-over work there from Gerard. Really got up in Beaton's face.
Their third held ball, so no doubt Jane Woodlands-Thompson will mention that. And look at the transition here, so quick. Just getting a fingertip on it, though, was Cara Richards.
You tend to think that good teams really pull away from maybe a next-tier team in the last 5 minutes. Interesting to see the Swifts just look like they're letting the ball go a bit. The movement's coming a bit freer. So crucial for the Thunderbirds in this last couple of minutes that they stay with them, that they keep scoring.
Up to the biggest lead so far. And they have possession through Green. The bullet-like pass into Cox from the baseline. She's got her eye in.
Interesting move. Cox really has changed her game in the last few minutes, has gone from being on the hold and wanting the high ball to showing her versatility and speed, putting on some dodges on the baseline.
It's opened up, Liz, in the last minute or so. It was a really defensive, tight, scrappy start. Low scoring, but it really has opened up.
It has. Good to see the Thunderbirds here just treasuring possession, being nice and patient with their ball delivery. Emily Beaton using the full 3 seconds there. The Thunderbirds are going to have to play like that the entire afternoon.
So they peg one back. That's the coach of the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Torres coach from last year, coach of the year.
And the Thunderbirds putting on a mid-court press off the centre pass. Took the Swifts a little while to identify it, though. Once they did, they busted through it beautifully.
And that's always the concern when you put the press on, adopt a zone tactic. If you can clear it through the middle and get it over the top, then it's always an open, easy goal. Well deflected then from Monia Gerard. Look, she's energised, isn't she? She's on her toes, she's up and about.
You can go one of two ways when you're playing your old club. You can go into your shell, or you can really get up and about. I thought Monia Gerard was a little that way in the first few minutes, but now she's coming into the game. She's being a pest, and Rebecca Bulley doing her best to be a pest as well. That's what your job is when you've got a D on your bib. Although a little too close, and Erin Bell should finish this off.
It was a huge block.
Love a good block.
I was going to say, is that one of the ultimates for a defender? Is that the equivalent of, you know, a really long-range shot or a...
Oh, you know, it's good. Something that I would have loved to have done in my career, and I'd love to see someone do it, would be to catch a shot with 2 hands. Apparently it's doable. It would be good to see.
Can you explain? Catch a shot with 2 hands.
Instead of deflecting it with 1 hand, go up with 2 hands and try and catch it. Yeah, so that's
How do you like that?
The holy grail.
The holy grail of netball.
That's right, or if you're a defender, we get off on those things.
That's why we're employed for special comments. We love it. It's all quality. Here's Borrego.
Speaking of love, that was a beautiful one-handed delivery from Bell into Borrego. Found the space. Really good play then from the Thunderbirds.
So counting down to quarter time, Gerard again in on the action. Good little play there. Green and Ware, they're such a good combination. Go all the way back to junior netball days.
Really good finish there from both teams. The Swifts, though, just seemed to open it up a little bit in that first quarter. Thunderbirds great defensively early. That's more of what we need to see from them, and they'll just have to play a bit more patient. The Swifts, though, looking like they are starting this year on a mission.
It's the Swifts leading by 5 goals at quarter time. Well, we're 1 quarter into the 2011 season, and the signs are pretty good early for the Swifts because they lead the Thunderbirds by 5 goals at quarter time. It's 15-10. Liz Ellis, let's have a look at the match statistics. The turnovers right at the bottom, quite telling.
Yeah, they are the standout, Kel. Really interesting start from both teams defensively, really even in their contact and obstruction penalties. Well, I guess not so even, through for the Thunderbirds, but both teams giving sort of away a few penalties. But I do want to talk about the turnovers. The Swifts only 2 turnovers, the Thunderbirds 7. And there's no surprise that they're 5 goals down. It really is the turnovers that tell the story, and it's just ball retention for the Thunderbirds.
Susan Prattley, have a look at these figures. She has exploded out of the blocks. She is 8 from 8 in that first quarter.
She has, and what's really telling is the fact that she's prepared to turn and shoot from the edge of the circle. She's only had 2 shots close in. She's sitting on 100%, but that just shows the sort of work that she does. If you were to take a look at Catherine Cox's shot chart, she can shoot from long range and in close. And I think Richards and Leighton in particular for the Thunderbirds have forced them into the long shots, but both Cox and Prattley have been up to the challenge.
That matchup, Bully and Richards, really will be providing a headache for the Thunderbirds. I want to ask you about that very shortly. It's been pretty willing. There's been no easy ball. Second quarter underway. And it's the Thunderbirds looking to move it forward from Bertouch to Bell. Caught in a vacant spot. Now she moves a little closer. And McCloma with that arm span really put her off on her shot then.
Oh, it's a beautiful rebound from Borrego. She just stepped as she caught the ball. She was a bit off balance.
Gerard, the long ball really tested out the knee for Vanessa Ware.
Gerard was always going to deliver a long ball. You could see it in her face. So Vanessa Ware was always going to be under pressure. Tough ball to take.
Snapped her anterior cruciate ligament at training in June last year and had to sit by and watch the Swifts win the rest of the season and then go out bang bang in the finals. So it would have been tough to do. Gerard all over it, looking to pounce. Over the top to Borrego.
Yeah, great delivery there from Bomberto.
It always seems like the tactic. If no other angle works, just go long.
And why not?
Comes off most times. There's Vanessa Ware to Cox, back to Ware.
Actually gives you a really good perspective of both teams. You'll watch the Thunderbirds. They'll play a little bit slower and craft the ball around with the long bomb. Oh, great take from Kim Green.
Pass, and then just flicks it into Prattley, who is 9 from 9. Well done, the Swifts.
I was about to say with the Swifts, they'll be a bit faster and a bit flatter with their passes. Richards went for that one. Green, though, so athletic.
Let's go courtside. Ali Broadbent. Ali, any changes?
No, Kel, there hasn't been any changes. What I found interesting at quarter time when the whistle went, Jane Willens-Thompson made her way to Nat von Bertouch, wasn't happy with something, and Nat went over and spoke with the umpires pretty quickly about something that they wanted to clear up. So I'm not sure whether it's about the body that's happening in the defence, which I'm kind of liking the umpires are letting go, but there's certainly something that's worrying them at the moment.
We saw that happen a few times last year, so it's not something different for the Thunderbirds. Nat von Bertouch approaching umpires during a break. Any idea in this what you think might be about?
No, I think Ali's probably pretty correct. There's plenty of body in the circle, but I'd argue that there's plenty of body from both teams, and I think that's a real feature of the way the Thunderbirds defend. I think the Swifts have just taken a leaf out of their book, which is flattering for the Thunderbirds. I love that physical style of play that is really their trademark. Now, Richards is probably just learning that style and learning the craft. Gives away a little bit too much space at the moment. She'll get it eventually.
And she gave away a penalty there, so her direct opponent is Prattley, who is now 10 from 10. Cara Richards in the pink, playing for the Thunderbirds. She's actually the oldest defender at 23, but she played just 4 games for the Vixens last year when Julie Corletto had surgery on her knee. So there's not much experience there.
There's not, and a good move from her as far as her career is concerned to go to the Thunderbirds, get a bit more court time. The Vixens have a wealth of experience in that defence line this year after picking up Jeeva Mentor. So
I like what she's done, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I just think she needs to close up a bit more space on Prattley. Prattley's the sort of player that will exploit the baseline whenever she's given a little bit of space, and she's doing that really well at the moment.
Baptism of fire for Cara Richards, and of course her defensive teammate, Shani Layton. They played underage netball coming through the ranks in Victoria together, so they should form a good combination. Might take a while to gel. Here's Bell, beaten. Borrego, well played by McCloma. There's those long arms.
It's a great matchup between McCloma and Borrego. You get two beautifully athletic players, both with really long reaches. They'll take the most incredible balls between them.
Talking about the age difference in the squad, Sonia McCloma, the English international, looking for the rebound here, got her hands to it, couldn't pull it in. 32-year-old, 105 test caps. Nearly as many as you.
Showing her age. She's been around for a long time playing for England, but I actually think coming out to the ANZ Championship has just really sharpened her game, and in the last few years we've really seen her develop into, I guess, a more disciplined player, especially under the tutelage of Julie Fitzgerald at the Swifts. Julie's really keen on making sure that defensively you don't give away unnecessary penalties, and I think Sonia McCloma's benefited from that.
Played with the Pulse back in 2008 and the Tactics in 09 and became the Swifts' first import last year. So impressive, she's here again.
Thunderbirds really struggling to penetrate across that transverse line. They've had to go parallel a few times, need some more direct play.
It's a defensive wall almost they're putting up, isn't it? A brick wall, and they just can't get past that transverse line. The Thunderbirds coach, Jane Woodlands-Thompson, has been good enough to join us. Jane, what was your message to the troops at quarter time?
Well, I think we needed to settle the attack line. It took Carla a good 6 or 7 minutes to get into the game, so we weren't able to find her early, but yeah, we were just looking to try and open her up a little bit more, and the defenders needed to be in play and reduce their contact balls.
Jane, we talked a lot in the first quarter about what a defensive game it was and how well your young sort of defensive line was doing. What did you make of them in the first quarter?
Yeah, they really had a go, stung by a little bit of inexperience against Cox and Prattley, but we were very happy with the intensity and the way they kept their heads up and kept having a go.
Yeah, we saw Nat von Bertouch at quarter time just go and have a chat to the umpires. Can you tell us what that was about?
Yeah, that was about after we're taking the shots, hitting the hands, so yeah, we just would like to see that tidied up.
All right, thanks, Jane. Great to speak to you. We'll speak to you again in the fourth quarter.
Thanks.
Good insight there from the Thunderbirds coach, Jane Woodlands-Thompson, as Joe Sutton comes through, swoops, the turnover, beaten, and Sutton again, and now von Bertouch. This is where they're having strife, trying to get it in under the post.
Probably worth just picking up on what Jane Woodlands-Thompson said about hitting the hand after the shot. You might think, well, it doesn't really matter because the ball's, you know, well and truly in play, but most shooters, or just about all shooters, will talk about their follow-through, and that's important to the direction and the spin on the ball. So that's something that I'm not surprised if that's happening. They've asked for it to be looked at. In fairness to the umpires, though, it's difficult to see.
Is it an intimidation tactic? Is that why they're employing it? Or
it's just an annoyance tactic.
Exactly. Intimidating and annoying. It was your style.
That's pretty much the position description of a goalkeeper.
As Prattley again drops another goal. Wow, she's been on fire. A timeout has been called, so we'll have a break in play. 2-minute injury timeout.
Just interesting, you're talking about Susan Prattley. She started on fire and has continued that way, but Kath Cox, despite a slow start, has really picked up her rate of scoring. Prattley sitting at 11 from 11, Cox 10 from 12. On the other side of the ledger, the Thunderbirds' percentage has dropped, and Erin Bell started beautifully, but she's now sitting at just 4 from 7, and Carla Borrego at 9 from 12. Wouldn't surprise me to see a couple of changes be made to this Thunderbirds lineup. Maybe not now, but maybe at halftime. Speaking to Jane Woodlands-Thompson during the week, she spoke glowingly of Bianca Giddo, formerly Bianca Franklin, since in the off-season got married to Wallaby Matt Giddo. So she's been a really good pick-up from the Thunderbirds, and Jane was talking about her being the most accurate shooter for the Thunderbirds so far in the pre-season, so she may see a little bit of court time, especially if they want the goal attack position to just pick up a little more volume.
The other shooting option they have is a 16-year-old, Cody Lang, youngest player in the ANZ Championship history who hails from border towns. So there we see Bianca Giteau, of course, formerly Franklin on screen. It's not often you go nearly an hour in a broadcast and don't mention Franklin, Liz, for our AFL fans that are watching. But look, we'd love to see us get some court time in the second half, formerly of the West Coast Fever, as Kath Cox, a rush of blood.
The Swifts have built out to an 8-goal lead, so you may see them take risks like that. Julie Fitzgerald, no doubt, will have plenty to say if they continue that. She doesn't like that wasted possession. Well done, Kim
well
Green.
Well done by Green. Nearly Kath Cox. And now Thunderbirds away again. Patiently, bit of contact mid-air between Green and Medhurst, Von Bertouch.
Well, Green needs to be aggressive in this particular matchup. She's against what I think is the best centre court player in the world in Nat von Bertouch. This year there is a World Championship, so not only is the ANZ Championships on the line, but you've got to show the Australian selectors that you want to be in Singapore in July. And Kim Green, what better way to show that than if she has a good performance today against Nat von Bertouch?
That's a confidence booster for Carla Borrego, although it's her 11th. So it was an obstruction call against Sutton. Woodlands Thompson watching on. The mind would be ticking. Where can we make changes? How can we get ourselves back into this contest?
Just see the really physical work going on there. Cox just being so strong and holding her space. Like to see Richards maybe when she gets in that situation to get stuck behind, move her feet and get out and try and get around Cox. Don't get into a push and shove with her. That's something that she'll lose. Cox is older and bigger and more experienced. Richard just needs to get off the body to be able to have a go at the ball.
Goals starting to become hard to come by for the Thunderbirds. So they really need to make the most of their limited opportunities.
Erin Bell needs to be responsible for that. She's had a great season last year, a good breakthrough season, but you know, now oppositions have been able to have a look at her and see what she's up to and see what her strengths and weaknesses are. Because Borrego is copying so much work from Bully and McCloma, Bell must step up, take more options, take more opportunity to shoot.
Erin Bell, 5 goals from the 8 attempts. Bit of body contact there from Richards and Cox. Cox doesn't look happy with it, and she responds by nailing a long-range goal.
Oh no, that's just how she looks.
Grumpy.
She sort of doesn't give much away, Kath Cox, whether she's happy or sad.
Is it true that she never looks at the scoreboard?
Yeah.
Is it true that she was born in New Zealand?
Yeah. Anything else?
Now the Swifts. Gerard looking to set a block off the ball. Bully, Pratley. Over the top to Ware, all by herself, and the pass was spot on.
Really interesting change of pace then for the Swifts. Thunderbirds were up in their face, so they slowed things down, moved things around until the space opened up. That's a sign to me of a confident side.
Wanted to ask you about Susan Pratley. She was in the squad that went to India. Are we banning the talk on India this season?
No, to be honest, I think it was one of the most magnificent games of netball I've ever seen. I think the girls who played in that game are still getting over it, but that gold medal final, not only one of the most magnificent games of netball, I think the best game of any sport that I've ever had the opportunity to watch.
I had the privilege of sitting behind you, although I'm not sure it was a privilege at times in those last few minutes, but it was without doubt the best sporting event I've ever seen live. It was unbelievable, and Susan Pratley, part of that squad, a blistering start here this afternoon. She was overlooked for the Diamond squad that toured Jamaica in January. Wouldn't have gone down pretty well.
No, and look, Susan Pratley is someone who really lives and breathes netball, and she was absolutely devastated, but you know, she knows where she has to make improvements. I would have liked to have seen her get a little more court time in India. I don't think that, you know, she saw as much court time as she probably deserved. And, you know, you look at Pratley and Cox and you see that they're the most lethal combination in this league, really, between them. And they don't ever play for Australia together. So I think, you know, Pratley needs to force her way back in and then force her way on court, potentially with her captain now, Kath Cox. Of course, the big roadblock there is Cheryl McMahon, who's in fine form at the moment.
Well, she's certainly making a statement here today, Susan Pratley.
And that's the best way to respond, I think, to something like that. You can drop your bottom lip, and that really gets you nowhere where you can stand up. And Prattley now sitting at 14 from 14, and not only is she shooting well, she's creating good opportunities and good options for her captain in Catherine Cox.
Well, it's the Swifts by 10 goals. Looking to make it double figures. Let's check in with Ali courtside.
Yeah, thanks, Kel. I've been watching Monia Gerard play on Emily Beaton. She's doing a great job one-on-one defence. I know we've spoken a lot about how great a player she is, but Emily Beaton's got a look of worry when the centre court whistle goes, when Nat's got to throw the centre pass. She's struggling to get out for the centre, so it's certainly she's struggling at the moment.
So there's Beaton getting involved. Bit of a collision behind play between Gerard and Beaton, so that she's using a lot of physical contact, Gerard, but it's not something that's unusual. We see it all the time. Such a physical player. And Beaton getting a little frustrated. How difficult is it, Liz, to come up against a former teammate? And I'm guessing a former close friend.
It is tough, and you almost have to sort of, in your mind, colour their face out with just a little furry, pixelated sort of dot, and sort of forget that you're playing against your mate and just really think about the process. And, for someone like Emily Beaton, she just needs to start to think about what she needs to do well, not think about what she needs to beat Monia Gerard. That's two very different things. So, look, it's difficult, but in this age of professionalism with our sport, it happens, and it's something that players on the whole have got used to pretty nicely. And you'd have to argue today that Monia Gerard has been seamless in her move from the Thunderbirds to the Swifts. She's one of the best on court for them.
Yeah, last 3 years with the Thunderbirds. 47 test caps to her name. She also missed the tour of Jamaica because she suffered an ankle injury at training in December, but looks like she's getting back to her best, showing no signs of that injury.
Contact, goal defence.
Heard the call from the goal defence, and she would be very frustrated at the moment, Cara Richards, because her opponent, Susan Prattley, is 15 from 15.
Speaking to Jane Woodlands-Thompson during the week, she felt that she had some good options in that defensive line, but she wasn't sure that those options would have the ability to play for 60 minutes at this level of intensity. It's a massive step up when you step onto this court for the ANZ Championships, and probably argue that Cara Richards has gone as hard as she could for 30 minutes, but she's just dropping off now. Her footwork's getting a little sloppy. She's getting caught up the back, so we may see some changes, particularly in that goal defence position for the Thunderbirds.
And the options there, if you take Richards off, of course, Georgia Beaton.
Yeah, Georgia Beaton is one player who could step into that position. The other younger player who the Thunderbirds could throw in there is Kate Shimon.
It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday, Kate. Born in 1992. That should be illegal, being able to play at this level.
That's scary,
at that age.
isn't it?
But good on her. Big opportunity for her if she gets a great birthday present. I'm sure she'd love it. Get on the court.
So the Swifts really threatening to run away with it here, and Gerard, the one-hander, looking to find Cox under the post, where bounce pass all by herself under the post. Prattley, 17 from 17. And there is the half. It belonged to the Swifts, all one-way traffic in that second quarter. And it's 29 playing 16. The Thunderbirds have got plenty of thinking to do at half-time. Well, it's half-time here at Sydney Olympic Park, and it's the New South Wales Swifts leading the Adelaide Thunderbirds by 13 goals. They led by 5 at quarter time, out to a massive 13 at half-time. Let's crunch the numbers. Liz Ellis, what do they tell us?
A couple of interesting numbers there. The turnovers still favouring the Swifts. They've just been so economical with the ball today and with the possessions. That's something that the Thunderbirds need to cut down on if they're going to claw their way back into this game. They'll also want to address that contact penalty stat, 29 to 15. More than anything else for the Thunderbirds, that means that they've got defenders standing out of play and giving Cox and Prattley a free shot at goal. They can't afford that.
Well, it is a new season. It's a new competition on the court, but we're going to talk a little bit about a new competition that's starting off the court. Liz, you're the expert. It's called Fantasy Netball. If you want to take us on online, you can jump and find out all the details. Can you tell us, it's a little bit like fantasy football. How does it work?
Look, it's like any fantasy league throughout the world or throughout Australia. You are the coach of your own team. You get $500,000 to spend on your players. You can choose 7 players and 5 reserves. And really how your team goes depends on how the players that you pick are going today. We're just going to take a look at the leaderboard, and I'm going to crow a little bit. I have Susan Prattley as a goal attack in my team, so
That's
I'm
not
a happy
surprise.
girl. No,
She's a New South Wales Swifts player.
This is true, but I'm not full of Swifts players. You can choose players from any team, from Australia and New Zealand. You can choose a captain. They receive double points. So I'm going to reveal at the moment my captain is Jiva Mentor. This round is a bit of a practice round. It's free to enter, and you can still enter, and the whole thing starts next week. So get online. There's some great prizes to get. And you can also have your own mini league with your friends. And I know you're in our mini league, Kel, and I've got you in my sights.
Got any New Zealanders in your team?
I've got a couple.
That's a surprise. It is Fantasy League. We're going to have a great fun with it this year. Half-time here at the Sydney Olympic Park, and it's all the New South Wales Swifts. They lead 29 to the Adelaide Thunderbirds 16. Welcome back to Sydney Olympic Park. The second half not too far away. We've got more than 3,000 in here today, and as we can see, this is the ANZ Junior Club of the Week. Certainly having a ball running around on the big stage. In fact, Ali is courtside, and she's caught up with this week's winner. Ali, who have you got down there?
Thanks, Cal. Look, I'm catching up with Samantha today. Samantha just playing on court. Now, can you tell me, Samantha, what do you like about playing netball?
Playing with my friends and running around.
Now, what's your favourite position? Because I know your coach wants you to play something else.
Defence, but my coach won't let me.
She's a little mean, isn't she? All right, well, maybe she'll can let you play defence this week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cal.
Terrific. Thanks for that, Ali and Samantha. There'd not be too many young'uns that like playing defence.
Oh, it looks a bit of a marketing exercise to try and get young players, especially goalkeeper. No one wants to play goalkeeper, so...
Were you always a defender at that age?
No, I was bossy, so I was a centre court player. That will surprise nobody, and then got moved to shooting and goal attack, and then when everyone realised that I couldn't shoot, couldn't barely hit the side of a barn, I got moved to goalkeeper and I cried my eyes out, and by the end of my career I wouldn't have played anything else. So good on you, Samantha. Hopefully your coach will let you have a go at defending.
Well, if you're interested in becoming an ANZ Junior Club of the Week, all you need to do is go to anznetball.com.au. Look forward to speaking to plenty of youngsters throughout the season. Underway in the second half, the Thunderbirds are in strife. Still a second half to go.
Well, the Thunderbirds are really well known for starting the season slowly. Last year, they lost their first 2 games and only won their 3rd game by a goal against the Firebirds. And that was a really crunch game for them. Had they not lost it, they started to be in real danger of missing the finals. So, you know, they know that they need to be a bit sharper off the start this year because the season is shorter. It's almost like they can have a bit of a slow first half here, but they need to pick things up in the second half.
Well, they were restricted to just 6 goals in that second quarter, which is quite remarkable. And just having a look, their lowest ever score is 38, which came against this side, the Swifts, in round 2 last year. So we'll keep a close eye on that as they move forward yet again. Beaten into Gitto. We'll get to Ali very shortly with all the changes, but this is certainly one of them. Bianca Franklin, of course, a former West Coast Fever player, the sister of Hawthorn's Lance Buddy Franklin, and got married in just December last year to Wallaby star Matt Gitto.
A bit of a sloppy start here from both teams. We've had a couple of turnovers and, you know, there's been plenty of changes made, which we'll get to in a second with Ali. I think she's just getting her head around them all. But I think the changes, plus the fact that there's a fairly big margin, means that things have started off a little bit ruddy for both teams. So we might get to Ali now. And Ali, you've got the changes?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to get my head around it at the moment. The Thunderbirds have made massive changes, particularly in their defence end. They've changed all 3 positions. Shani Layton's now gone from GK down to wing defence, which is probably her preferred position. Georgia Beaton's gone at goal defence. I can't quite make out the goalkeeper. We've also got Bianca Gitto coming on at, I keep going to call her Franklin then, but yeah, coming on a goal attack, which is probably a right move for Jane Woodlands-Thompson. The other changes we've got in the Swifts, Courtney Tyree has come on at wing attack for Vanessa Ware, and Kim Smith has come on at wing defence, and Monia Gerard has gone to the bench.
Thanks, Ali. The goalkeeper for the Thunderbirds is Kate Shimon, celebrating her 19th birthday today.
Happy birthday, Kate. Head-to-head with Kath Cox.
Well, you just see it there. She's really giving away a lot of height. Yet Kate Shimon's quite a tall girl. She's listed here as 1.86 metres, so 183 centimetres. That's 6 foot, or nearly 6'2" in the old measurement. So she gives away a lot of height still to Kath Cox and a lot of experience.
Well, she's back in Adelaide after a year playing at the AIS, and she's in for a tough ask. 2 quarters of netball. It'll be a baptism of fire, but she'll be up to the challenge. There she is, getting involved in the contest.
Well, a couple of things to watch here. Shani Layton moving into that wing defence position. She had a brilliant season there last year. She's really tall for a wing defender, but she's got beautiful long arms. Up against Courtney Tyree, who is a real promising young star for the Swifts. She's come back from a knee reconstruction as a junior and got a little bit of court time last year in the finals and looked a little bit like a rabbit caught in the headlight at times, and I'm sure that sort of experience will hold her in good stead. So she'd love a good outing today, and it's good to see Julie Fitzgerald going to her bench.
And no surprise that Ware has been given a rest, coming back from the radical knee reconstruction, and Gerard as well, of course, battling an ankle injury over summer. So probably a good move there from Julie Fitzgerald. So it's out to 12 goals now. This is Georgia Beaton defending Prattley. And Susan Prattley continues on her merry way. Gitto getting involved in the action. Von Bertouch, nice double play into Gitto in the pocket. And now Borrego. And that's her 16th goal for the afternoon. Just a little rusty, a little slow to start off, Carla Borrego, but it's going to take a while for her to gel again with her teammates, given she hasn't attended hardly any training sessions over summer. Beaten over to Gitto. Good hands, McCloma. Such good reach.
Little rush of blood to the head there from Sonia McCloma. It happens sometimes when you pick up a really nice intercept. I was about to say that was a much better build-up there, but Bianca Gitto committed the cardinal sin of throwing a one-handed shoulder pass from down near her hips, and it was just too easy for McCloma to pick it up.
Gitto's been out of the game for a year. I'd be really interesting to speak to her after and wonder how much she's noticed the game has changed in just 12 months. Julie Fitzgerald would be one very happy person in the crowd of 3,000 sitting here this afternoon watching this unfold. Julie, you're a pretty handy lead by 12 goals. What have you made of it so far?
I'm very pleased with the first half. I think we're taking a little time to settle into the changes here, which I hope doesn't last much longer, but very pleased with the first half.
Julie, your defensive line in particular, Bully, Gerard and McCloma did a great job. What was the reason behind giving Monia a break as opposed to the other two?
Oh, look, I think Kim deserves to be introduced into the game. She's been playing very well. Beck and Sonia have got a great combination happening in there at the moment. I didn't want to disturb that. And Mon hasn't had quite the training in the pre-season the others have had, so I think she's quite grateful for the rest.
Young Courtney Tyree's coming onto the court for her first game in 2011. What were your instructions to her before she came out?
Courtney's really improved defensively and her drive's a lot stronger than it was, so we're hoping that she brings that out.
All right, thanks, Julie, for your time today. No doubt we'll catch up with you throughout the 2011 ANZ Championship season.
Thank you.
Julie Fitzgerald, pretty canny in the changes that she made. With such a big lead at halftime, she could have made wholesale changes, but just interesting she's chosen to tinker with that wing attack, wing defence position and just leave the core of her team to play it through. I think we'll see her sort of tinker around the edges a lot this year, and all coaches will have to use their depth and go to their benches a lot more than we've seen in previous years, just given the extra load with players. There's Thursday night games, teams have double headers.
Well, it is a condensed season. It's usually 14 weeks. It's an early start. We're condensing it into the 12 weeks. Do you think coaches like, well, we know Julie Hornweg from the Vixens in the past, it likes just to go with the 7, doesn't like to use her bench too much. Do you think it'll be right across the board, that they'll all be forced to go and use their depth, and that would have been in the back of their minds when they were putting their list together?
I think it will, and it will also be dictated by injury and fatigue levels. When you've got, speaking to the Thunderbirds during the week, they've got a round where they play, I think, the Thursday night in Perth, I think in round 3 or 4, and then the Sunday in Brisbane. Now, that's a big ask for any team to travel 12,000 kilometres with a day's rest or 2 days rest in between. So I think all teams are going to have to use it wisely, and this year more than any year is going to be a test of not only your best 7 players but your best 10 or 11.
As Borrego gets involved. It's been a wonderful head-to-head matchup with Macloma this afternoon. That's her 18th goal. I know Vicky Wilson, who does our courtside reporting up in Brisbane, has been a bit of a critic of the double headers. What do you see as the fixture format and the fact that there will be 3 double headers throughout the season?
I just think it was forced by the World Championships. At some point, netball's going to have to sort out the scheduling almost conflict, and this is, I think, the best netball league in the world, or it is without doubt the best netball league in the world. So World Championships are just going to have to accommodate that for the sport to grow. So, look, I don't love the double headers, but it is what it is, and the teams just have to get on with it. They've had, plenty of opportunity to have a look at their draw, to work things out, to work on their recovery, and it's how it is.
And this has been forced because they insist there needs to be a 6-week break lead up to the World Championships. Do you need 6 weeks?
I don't think you do. And I think I couldn't tell you exactly who was arguing for the 6 weeks break, but I would argue as a player that once you've finished this level of play, you just want to get into the next level. So, that could have been shorter. That's an argument the sport has had with the various high-performance managers. So, again, once it's set in stone, though, you've got to have it. That's it. But, I don't reckon that you need, the full 6 weeks.
And so does Norma Plummer, the Australian coach, use the next 12 weeks, the ANZ Championship for 2011, as a selection process?
Well, I think the selectors do that. Selectors get to pretty much every game. They make sure that they give all teams equal viewing time so that the accusation can't be made they didn't get a look at a player or didn't get a look at a team. And really the ANZ Championships for both Australia and New Zealand, and also to a certain extent for England. There are a number of English and Jamaican players playing in this league. It will act as a selection sort of process, which I think it should. You see players tested under the real pressure that happens week in, week out. There's physical sort of tests, there's mental tests. It should be a selection process.
Which will give us plenty to talk about for the next 12 weeks. We've gone too early, Liz. And you get the feeling that's probably behind Susan Prattley's blistering start this afternoon. She is 20 from 20.
She is, and just watching that Swifts front line then, Prattley was quite instrumental in bringing the ball through. You can just see the Thunderbirds putting on a little mid-court press. I just don't know yet that they've quite got the hang of it. They need a little bit more movement in that defensive unit when they set up like that. You've got to be prepared to have a go at the ball. So they've got their sort of structure right. They've just got to attack the ball now.
Macloma, the long ball. This is Smith, who came on at half-time. Kimberly Smith looking for Cox. Getting a hand in was Georgia Beaton. Just flicks it back to Shimon. Well played.
Pretty interesting. It's 10-all in this quarter. I think the Thunderbirds have really lifted their intensity and the Swifts have dropped their intensity. So Thunderbirds won't be feeling that they're out of the game. Got a lot of work to do. That's not the way to do it.
Bianca Giddo yet to get on the board from one attempt. They fly down the court on transition. Back to Smith. Now Green, bounce pass to Prattley. One out under the post is Cox, and Shimon's gone down. She appears to be okay, though. Right to Von Bertouch. Good take by Beaton. Now Giddo. Held ball.
See Carla Borrego just saying, steady on, steady on. I think Emily Beaton was being quite steady. She just didn't have the option to unload to.
Well, Borrego and Giddo, I'm guessing, met each other on Monday, and now they're the attacking, shooting duo.
Yeah, and that's patience at the other end. Kim Green just waiting for the space to open up. Cox and Prattley look like they've picked up where they left off after round 13, not so much after the finals in 2010, but they're mixing up their game beautifully. They're finding different avenues to the circle. They're shooting well.
Kath Cox, she got the black eye last year against the Thunderbirds, but it was Jiva Mentor.
Well, she got the broken nose as well. She had surgery just before the grand final, which the Swifts didn't feature in, so I don't know if she had anything else done while she was in there. She reckons not.
I'm not even touching that, Liz.
No, she didn't. But it's not a bad rumour to start. Swifts just have picked up their defensive intensity, really having a good go at everything. Smile from Rebecca Bully. You can smile when you're 15 goals ahead. I think Julie Fitzgerald will have plenty to say to the Swifts at three-quarter time, though. She won't be happy that they've just dropped off. That turnover rate has just crept up to 8. They've just coughed up possession a little bit lazily a couple of times in this game.
Out to a 16-goal lead now, the Swifts. Spoke about the new Fantasy League at halftime, Liz. I think it's a good time to have a look at the top 5 scorers in the Fantasy League so far. No surprises. There's Prattley, Borrego. She's in my team.
Nice work, you.
Thank you.
Beaten Leighton Cox. Interesting that there's 3 Thunderbirds sitting 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and it probably gives a pretty good idea of the way the Fantasy League works. It doesn't matter if you're picking players who aren't in teams that are winning, as long as you're picking players that are getting their hands on the ball and doing lots of good things. So
basically, you log on, you've got $500,000. That's the salary cap. You put your squad together of 12 and away you go.
So you can't go shopping with it.
I just wonder how much you would have been if you were still playing. Rumour has it you earned more than $500,000, so wouldn't even get you in one team there.
Wouldn't get out of bed, Kel.
Courtney Tyree, been impressive in this 3rd turn. Green to Cox. Good play.
I like what Kim Green's doing with Courtney Tyree. She's really sitting back a bit and letting Tyree just run the whole court, giving her the space to do what she wants. That's a sign of just a good, experienced player who's happy to let a young player find her way into the game.
Leighton over the top to Beaton. Could have gone over the top to Gitto. The pass was there. She hesitated. Now Gitto, well, outside the circle into Borrego. Look at that take, one-hander.
Great take, and smart enough to know where the umpire was, and she could get rid of McCloma. McCloma didn't like it, but she's probably given as good as she's got this afternoon. So really well played there from Borrego. You just get the feeling that the Thunderbirds, Kel, have put together a few nice plays, but it's just been interspersed by some loose passes, little drops off in intensity. They're a young team. They've got a lot to learn.
They are a work in progress.
Kate Shimon's learning a little bit at the moment. Playing against someone like Kath Cox, I talked about Cara Richards and just her footwork. Shimon's in the same boat. She's just allowing herself to get caught up behind Cox. Just needs to move her feet, get out in front and contest.
Leighton just to give around the corner. Thunderbirds ball. Oh, that's just thrown away there from Georgia Beaton.
Well, much better quarter then for the Thunderbirds. They scored 12 goals to the Swifts 15. So really lifted the intensity up, both in attack and defence. The Swifts dropped up a little bit. I think their coach might have plenty to say. So the Swifts 44, led the Thunderbirds 28.
It's 3 quarters down, 1 to go in the season opener for 2011, and the New South Wales Swifts showing no signs of rustiness. They lead last year's champions, the Adelaide Thunderbirds, by a massive 16 goals at 3/4 time. Let's have a look at the match stats. Liz Ellis.
Really interesting, just defensive stats. The Thunderbirds lead the Swifts for intercepts and rebounds, so they're getting their hands on the ball. They're getting possession. What they're not doing, though, is capitalising on that possession. So Swifts got a little sloppy in that 3rd quarter. Turnover rate almost doubled from half-time when they were sitting at 5 turnovers. They gave the ball away 4 times. The Thunderbirds, though, have coughed it up 11 more times, and that really is where they have struggled in this match. It's just possession.
So often the barometer of the Adelaide Thunderbirds last year, if Carla Borrego played well, then the Adelaide Thunderbirds usually won. 22 from 25 today.
We talked a little bit at the start about just how she'd missed some shots, but she's come into the game and she's even been prepared to take some long shots. So she missed 3 goals early on and hasn't missed a goal since. So Borrego, you can see she's so dominant though, just in front of the post. That's where her strength is, that's where she is demanding the ball, and that's where the Thunderbirds have to find a way to get it to her.
Good to see the Jamaican international enjoying herself with the English international, despite the scoreline. What can the Thunderbirds get out of this last quarter? Finished on such a high last year. Borrego, the first goal. There's been some changes, so we will get to Ali shortly. Just 2 years ago, Liz, it was really unusual to see a lot of movement and changes in the game, but you get the feeling that this year it'll be a completely different philosophy.
Absolutely, and we talked about the draw making that a necessity, but the other thing that's worth pointing out is that there's been 2 years now of the fastnet competition in England, which is a real sub-on, sub-off during the game. It's
almost 2020 cricket style.
It is, and it sort of made some changes to the game, and it's made coaches think a little bit differently about how they approach that, and no doubt that has filtered down to this level, to the club level.
And if you're a bench player, you'd be happy with it, because I think there'd be nothing worse than travelling all season and getting 2 minutes on court.
It's happened to plenty of players in the past, and you know, sometimes it's character building, sometimes it shows you where you need to get better. Well done, Kate Shimon. Great touch from her.
Shimon to von Bertouch. Over the top to Sutton, who's come back on. It was 15 minutes into the very first game last year that Jo Sutton snapped her Achilles. Almost a career-threatening injury, originally from Sydney. So it's great to see her back. And here she is, receiving the centre pass. Long bomb, ambitious, knocked over the advertising hoardings. So she hit that. She didn't hit Borrego.
Jo Sutton's had dreadful luck with injuries in the past, so you keep your fingers crossed. She looks fit. She needs a season to put it all together and just to be able to prove what she's capable of. She's an incredibly talented player who just hasn't had the ability to put too many seasons together with injury.
So Smith came on at half-time. I think there's been a few that have come on at three-quarter time, Ali.
Yeah, there certainly has, Cal. Like you're talking about Jo Sutton, it's an unusual position for her wing attack. She hasn't played a lot there, but obviously Jane Williams-Hobson's got the confidence to put her in there and see how she goes. The other changes are for the Swifts. Ashley Brazel's come into the centre to replace Kimberly Green. And at shooting, Catherine Cox has come off, and Carla Dewocki, who's the first-time Swift, is getting some court time today.
And here is Carla Dewocki. Liz, what can you tell us about her?
Well, Carla's been sort of in the netball wilderness for a little while. She played many years ago for the Queensland Firebirds and turned up a couple of years ago back in there for the ANZ Championship. She went to England to play a little bit of netball. Julie Fitzgerald has long been a fan of hers, thinks she moves beautifully, and just felt that Carla would be a great addition. When you look across the Swifts and you look across their depth, really last year and maybe this year I would have argued that the shooting depth, if something happened to Cox or Pratley, that was where they were going to run into trouble. So it's great to see Carla come out and score 3 from 3. She's been a really good addition to the Swifts, I'm told. She's a really great team player, and it's good to be able to see her get on court as well. Just want to talk a little bit about Ashley Brazel as well, the centre for the Swifts. Huge raps on her. So just watch what she does up against the best mid-court player in the world in Nat von Bertouch. And there you can see why. Beautiful delivery from von Bertouch into Borrego. When it's there, and Borrego's so strong.
Here's Gitto to Sutton. Over the top to Borrego. And from mid-range, drops another. So the tally's creeping up. She's 27 from 30. Here's Ashley Brazel. Throws herself at every ball. She is a fierce competitor, and I'm told, Liz, she excelled in almost the 2020 format when they went to the UK. Was that at the end of last year?
Mm-hmm. Made her debut for Australia at that 2020. Young team went over, and Ashley Brazel was one of the standouts.
Vertical leap of 60 centimetres, which is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, there's not a lot of doubt about Ashley's ability. The doubt is just her ability to put it all together for 60 minutes. I talked a bit earlier about Emily Beaton's consistency. I'd argue that Ashley Brazel is in the same boat. She needs to be able to come onto this quarter and show Julie Fitzgerald that she's not capable of just playing in brilliant flashes. She's got to put together a good 15 minutes. So that next time she gets the opportunity, she can turn that into a good solid half hour.
Here she is again. Tyree, Prattley. Brazel on the edge of the circle, over to Prattley. Hasn't missed yet, Liz.
Don't say that, Kelly.
I knew as soon as I said it. That was a glare you gave me. I don't like your glares.
No, that's just the way I look.
Oh, I get scared.
Should talk about Carla Dworki then. Beautiful hands from her. Jo Sutton trying to inject some aggression into this game.
She looks frustrated, Jo Sutton, doesn't she?
Yeah, and sometimes when that happens, you just want to get in there and be aggressive, and good on her. You know, the Thunderbirds need to fight this all the way through.
Well, Jane Woodlands-Thompson's been good enough to join us again, the Adelaide Thunderbirds coach. Jane, I wanted to start and ask you about Jo Sutton. It was terrific to see her start after such a long stint out with injury.
It was. She's worked so hard to rehabilitate that Achilles and playing really, really well. Didn't have her best half at wing defence today, but that'll come.
Jane, I know you guys don't like to refer to the fact that maybe you are rebuilding. You preferred during the week to talk about maybe regenerating. Having seen this game today, have you changed your mind? Do you think you've still got a little bit of work to do?
Oh, we've been stung by experience big time today. Swifts have played a great game, and there's just so much experience on the court, and we have suffered from that. But I've seen some great things, particularly in the second half from our defensive trio back there. So there's good signs to come. We just need to learn at a very accelerated pace to keep up with the comp.
Well, Kate Shimmons is incredibly young, and she's been given a big task today coming on at goalkeeper. What were your words to her, and how did she feel when you told her she was going to come on today?
Oh, she's been ready to play against Coxie for 6 weeks, I think. She's really looking forward to the challenge. Nothing much phases Katie, and you know, she's in there having a go, and she's a fantastic South Aussie talent, so we'll look forward to her progress over the next 2 weeks.
Thanks, Jane. Great to catch up with you today, and we'll catch up with you through the season.
Thank you.
Jane Woodlands-Thompson, Thunderbirds coach.
A little way pass from Brazel to Tyree.
It's a great thing that she's capable of. Now, the next thing for her in the next few minutes is just to sort of, you know, batten down the hatches and do some simple things well. So you sort of need that in your mid-court.
Prattley sharing it around to Dworki. There's the look-away pass, replay. Here's Ashley Brazel again. And a held ball against Courtney Tyree. Georgia Beaton. Stung by experience is exactly what Jane Woodlands-Thompson just said, Liz. I think it probably sums it up. And is it a new buzzword in netball? Regenerate. Regeneration. Usually it's rebuilding.
Yeah, look, and I do actually quite like it. I think sometimes you can talk about rebuilding as if it's a bit of an excuse. And I was really pleased to see that not only Jane Woodlands-Thompson sort of dismissed it, but Nat von Bertouch, when Ali Broadbent spoke to her yesterday, dismissed it as well. And for a proud club like the Thunderbirds, you can't throw up excuses. There is an expectation that you will win all the time. And, you know, they've got a young team that has to learn to sort of not only deal with, but deliver on those expectations.
And she spoke about Kate Shimon as being a good South Aussie girl. You get the feeling it's her priority to really boost up, come through local products. Cody Lang from Bordertown, Madeline Proud is they talk about a real sensation coming through in Adelaide. So
yeah, look, last year if you had to criticise the Thunderbirds, it was that they had very few South Australians in their lineup. I think Nat von Bertouch may have been pretty close to the only sort of raised South Australian. This year it's up to 6. So, you know, it's been a priority for teams like the Swifts and also the Vixens to do that. And it's, you know, great to see that South Australia is now doing that with the Thunderbirds. They have always been a great netball nursery. They've produced brilliant talent.
We'll have a look at the Fantasy League scores. The top 5 scorers very shortly. Susan Prattley still 25 from 25, and she's on the leaderboard.
Borrego as well beaten. Cox just moving up the ladder, and Rebecca Bully. So Bully to me has been one of the standout players. I've got to choose some points in a few minutes.
You do. She won the car last year.
She did.
Bully.
She did. She won a beautiful Holden Cruise. This year it's a Holden Barina Spark that the girls are playing for, and it's our job to give out the votes at the end of every match. And there's been some pretty good performers all across the court.
Oh, Prattley from long range. She hasn't missed yet. She thought about it. And remains on track. She knew as well. 100% to date, 26 from 26, almost scored as many goals as Borrego up the other end, who has 27. Sutton back to Giddo. And Sutton hands it off. Giddo free. 4 from 6. A little shaky on the approach. Opts to give it over to Borrego. There's Bully. Pratley. Jawoki from the baseline. Nice little pass over to Pratley. Liz, I think she's determined to keep the 100% in track, because anytime she's long range, she's not even looking at the post.
Well, I can guarantee you that she would know exactly how many goals she's scored, and she'd also know that she has Stenny. So, yeah, just protecting her stats, and why not?
Over the top, Borrego double team. McClymber got her hand in there, but it will be a Thunderbirds ball from the baseline.
McClymon's done particularly well today. She's had a quiet game in the way of penalties, but she's been able to get in there and contest everything. So only 8 penalties to her name, which when you're playing against someone like Carla Borrego is impressive. She's managed to get a couple of crucial intercepts. She's been really disruptive on the shot. So she's had a really fine game.
Open court, von Bertouch, Sutton. And here's the details if you're thinking of becoming a member of your favourite netball team this year. More than 3,000 in here for the season opener this afternoon. That's the details on your screen if you want to become a member of the Swifts. I think 5 of their first 6 games are here at home. So a great chance to get along and enjoy high-quality netball. And if you're in Adelaide or perhaps outside of South Australia, but you like the colour of the Thunderbirds, there's the details to become a member.
And the Thunderbirds have their first home game next week against the Vixens, so
that will be a cracker.
Yep, absolutely, get along.
The Vixens have done, well, they've rebuilt, really. They haven't regenerated, they've rebuilt over summer after what was a disastrous year for them. Is there a hoodoo of sorts if you win a premiership in this competition?
There is, isn't there? It's just amazing when you look back at the Swifts won in 2008, finished 9th in 2009. The Vixens won in 2009. Julie Hornweg, their coach, said, no, the hoodoo won't happen to us. We're too experienced. Sure enough, her team finished 7th and missed out on the finals. Only 4% of coaches and captains surveyed this week tipped the Thunderbirds to be in the top 4 at the end of the year. So perhaps there is a little bit of a premiership hangover happening. And, you know, I loved when I spoke to Jane Woodlands-Thompson this week. I asked her about the hangover and she said, look, we've done everything we can. If we don't make it, it's because we weren't good enough, not because of a hangover. So again, that great Thunderbirds attitude coming through. But yeah, it's not a good look at the moment. If you win this competition, almost the following year, you've got to have a long, hard look at what you're up to make sure that you don't miss the finals.
Is it a hoodoo or a hangover? They're elite netballers, so it's a hoodoo.
Hoodoo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Monia Gerard enjoying her time back in the red. She was very successful as a former Swifts player. But when the ANZ Championship was introduced, she crossed over to Adelaide. 3 years there, and now she's back in Sydney. Good steal by Smith. Well picked off. Pratley. Back to Pratley. There's no one under the post. Monia Gerard, she's painted her nails red for the occasion.
See, she's a Swift through and through these days. She used to have the teal nail polish last year. The Thunderbirds have changed their colours, and look, she was such a brilliant player for the Thunderbirds, and that goal defence position has left a hole, and it's
going to be hard to fill.
Yeah.
Oh, Pratley doesn't want to miss. And she hits the boards with a smile. Enjoyed herself this afternoon. Well and truly made a statement. So it's a 19-goal margin. Closing in on full time. Sutton, von Bertouch, good take under enormous pressure.
Yeah. Kim Smith is one of the closest markers in the game, and she's really come on and done that to Sutton and Nat von Bertouch today, made it difficult for them to find space. But Nat von Bertouch is so strong. You can between her and Borrego, if you put the ball in their general vicinity, you know they'll kill themselves and anyone within range to try and get hold of it. That's the beauty of having them on your team. Brazel, great pick-up, beautiful read. That's what she's capable of. Great long bomb from Pratley. Good delivery. Finished off by Jawaki. Really nice finish there for the Swifts.
Jawaki, beautiful pass from Pratley. A little bit of icing on the cake, and I think she's enjoying herself out there. Carla Jawaki, 11 from 11. Borrego from long range, and there it is. The season opener comes to a conclusion. And the New South Wales Swifts are back in town after a disastrous end to last year. The premiership favourites have well and truly sent an ominous warning to the rest of the competition. A huge 20-goal win over last year's premiers, the Adelaide Thunderbirds, 60-40.
Now, Julie Fitzgerald talked during the week almost boastfully about she felt that her team had the best depth in the league, and let me give you an indication of that. The Swifts, despite major changes to their lineup, scored 15, 14, 15, 16. The consistency was there, the effort was there, the intensity was there. They dropped off a little bit in that third quarter. The Thunderbirds came back into the game, scoring 10 in the first quarter, 6 in the second. That was disastrous for them. Really took them out of the game, 12 and 12. So they had a much better finish to the game, but the Swifts really too good all over the court.
All right, well, Ali's done well. She's got the lady of the moment, Monia Gerard, a former Thunderbird, and now a Swifts player. And she'd be pretty happy, I'm guessing, Ali.
She is pretty happy. I'm checking out the red nail polish she's got on at the moment. Obviously, Mon, great result to start the season.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't had that much time together as a group, knowing that the Aussie Diamonds were out in January, but to come off winning against the Premiership girls, yeah, it's a really good click.
What was it like? You mentioned the Premiership girls. You were in that side last year. What's it like to get out there and play them first game this season?
Personally, it was fine with me. You know, what happens on court stays on court for me, so we're still best mates off the court, and I'm just glad we got on top of that one, got that over and done with.
Excellent. One thing I noticed throughout the game is obviously defensive pressure from the shooter down was really good. Is that obviously something you've been working on?
Yeah, defence is the biggest emphasis that we've had this season, especially with the Swifts, knowing that we've got a good attack line. We want to see if we can convert that to a defence line as well. And I think Pratley started to step up in defence, which is good to see personally anyways.
Well, all the best for the rest of the season, Mon, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kel.
Thanks, Ali. Interesting, Monia Gerard was quoted in the local newspaper this morning saying the Thunderbirds are a shadow of their former selves.
Well, it's interesting, but she's right. Looking at that scoreline, you know, I was nervous before the game. You know, for the Thunderbirds girls, they're such a proud outfit. Yet I just felt they had it in them to maybe cause an upset or go close. And I think they did that for the first quarter. It's just that lack of experience, as their coach Jane Woodlands-Thompson said, that held them back a little bit. And they're coming up against the red-hot favourites. They will get better as the year progresses.
Let's go back to Ali, who is with someone who, it's not a red-hot favourite, but she's red hot, and she was pretty red hot on the court this afternoon, Susan Pratley. Ali.
Certainly red hot. I'll tell her she's red hot in a minute. Obviously, pleased with that result to start the season off.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the season. I mean, it's a short season this time, so we can't just rest on that one. There's a few more games to go.
Yeah, that's true. But are you showing off today with 100%? You're just going to, yeah.
I feel good today. We always try and shoot 100%. I was just lucky that went in today.
Were you trying to put off some of those shots that weren't going, like, pass them off to Carla and get her in the game?
No, not at all. Carla came into the game really well, trying to get us set up nice and close to the post for the first few shots, and she did a fantastic job.
You brought up the changes. Obviously, getting those changes, the girls, Kimberly Smith came on, Carla came on, Ash came on in the last quarter. Was it nice to get those girls on?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, our 12 are really, really strong this year, so they've been training really well at training, and to reward them out here on the court, and they've did a fantastic job.
All right, well, all the best with the season and good luck with that shooting percentage.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sally. The Swifts, 11 of their 12 players got court time today.
Yeah, it's really good to see. The only one sitting on the bench was Amy Wild. I noticed that she had a bandage around her left quad, so I don't know if she was deliberately just being given a little rest, and no doubt she'll see some court time later in the year. She's another pretty good option for the Swifts at goal attack or wing attack. So just great to see both coaches going to their bench, and especially for the Swifts, it was good for them that they could get to their bench and really didn't affect what they were up to. They just sort of steamrolled along. The Thunderbirds, actually, their changes really helped them through the course of the game.
Plenty of debuts this afternoon. One of them, well, not really a debut, but Bianca Giddo out of the game for 12 months. She's courtside with Ali.
Bianca, obviously not pleased with that result. No, it's a little bit disappointing to lose by that much. I mean, we're still a young side and we're building. It's the first game, so we're still a little bit rusty. Yeah, we tried our best, but just wasn't good enough losing by 20.
What's it like to come out? You've had a year off, obviously been married in the off-season and things like that. What's it like to come back, and is the game sped up a little bit more?
It's quite quick. It's a quick game, but it hasn't really changed that much having a year off, but it's good to be in Adelaide with these girls and new team, they're premiership side, so hopefully we can rebuild and come back next week harder.
Is there anything you think that Jane Willinson, your coach, is going to work on this week in particular?
Just, I think, more aggression onto the ball. I think we're just not as hard out there and didn't look like we really wanted as much as the Sydney girls did. So maybe just a little bit more aggression and working out the combinations still.
Well, all the best for the rest of the season.
Thanks very much.
Bianca Giddo finished with 4 from 5 this afternoon. The Swifts make the perfect start to the season with an emphatic victory over the Adelaide Thunderbirds. It was 20 goals in the end.
Don't try to find it, what your body doesn't know. I know.
Well, day one of the new ANZ Championship season, and the points go to the New South Wales Swifts. Moni Gerard having the last laugh against her old side. It was a rejuvenated new-look Swifts showing no signs of last year's disastrous end. Liz Ellis, they mean business.
They certainly do, and the shooting stats tell a pretty impressive story for the Swifts. 2 of their shooters sitting on 100%. For the Thunderbirds, Carla Borrego came into the game really well. She lifted up the Thunderbirds percentage, but they just had some problems with getting volume in that goal attack position. Turnovers as well hurt the Thunderbirds. The Swifts really picked up where they left off in round 13 last year, and they just had beautiful possession of the ball. They moved the ball around, just really slick more than anything else, and they started that pretty soon. I thought both teams actually had a pretty nervous start, and both sides were good defensively, and it was a defensive unit from the Swifts and the Thunderbirds that just kept them ticking over in the game. But it was the Swifts that found their way earliest in attack. It took the Thunderbirds through the combination between Bell and Borrego and then Giddo and Borrego just a little while to get into the game.
They extended their lead at every break, so they continue to get better and better. It was 5 at quarter time, 13 at half, 16 at three-quarter time, and in the end it was 20 goals the difference.
It was, and you just felt that the Swifts just put their foot down when they had to in that second half. There were times in that third quarter that they just got a little bit sloppy and let the ball go to maybe not the best option. So you get the feeling that Julie Fitzgerald, the Swifts coach, will have plenty to say about that this week. Of course, you can't be perfect in your first game, but she's always after that and encouraging for that. For the Thunderbirds, they've just got to look after possession a little bit more. One of the things that they'll have to do through the course of the year is pretty much win the centre court battle every week, get plenty of ball to Carla Borrego, and have their goal attack players step up and just deliver a little more in the way of volume.
Well, let's have a look at the Fantasy League points for today, and it was Pratley that took the points in the end. If you want to get involved, you can jump online at 1hd.com and pick your team, pick your squad for the year, and it's just about dominated by the Swifts.
Yeah, but look at Carla Borrego up there. You can see what a valuable player she is. It's no surprise in the Fantasy League she's one of the more expensive buys, but a pretty good return.
It certainly was. Well, it's time for your votes, Liz, and Holden, great sponsors. They have jumped on board again this year, and the prize is another fantastic car from Holden. Very much looking forward to this one. It is the Barina Spark, sporty, edgy. It's got the works, of course, the Holden Aussie Player of the Year. It was a Swifts player in Rebecca Bully that took the honours last year. I think the year before that it might have been the Adelaide captain, Natalie von Bertouch. Both players that featured heavily today, and of course you had the honour of naming the votes. Far away.
Well, with such a great prize, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking giving out the votes. And Rebecca Bully really picked up where she left off last season. I thought she had a fine game, and I do look across all 4 quarters. I thought Susan Pratley had a quiet first quarter, stepped it up though, second, third and fourth. But Rebecca Bully for mine was the most consistent, just outstanding in that first quarter, allowed the Swifts to build up through and establish that lead. And Shani Layton was a really good player in a losing team today.
Well, congratulations to Rebecca Bully, of course. Formerly a Victorian, she has excelled since she made the move up north, and she wins $1,000 for her junior club. She took the car home last year. Maybe she'll have back-to-back cars by the end of this season. It was the Swifts today, and they won in the end by 20 goals. The final score was 60 to the Adelaide Thunderbirds 40. Of course, the Thunderbirds back in action next week. It'll be their first home game, and they'll be up against the Melbourne Vixens. Looking forward very much to that one. Just another new segment that we've got for you for 2011. This is called the Mars Fittest Netballer. And Liz, you know a little bit about this.
I do. I got to actually watch the girls in action. We had them for 3 days a little while ago. We had 10 players, 2 from each team. There are 11 challenges, and we challenged every single aspect of their fitness. I don't know what aspect bull riding is, maybe balance, but it was a really brilliant couple of days. We had 10 very exhausted girls at the end of it. So, yeah, keep your eye on Monday night. Should be fun.
I'm not sure how you'd fare if you were involved in that competition. We talked to you about at the start of the broadcast the Lorraine Linen, who will be the team to beat in 2011, and the results were the Swifts 39%, the Vixens 37%, and 15% for the Thunderbirds. What do you make of that?
I think that's about right. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Vixens next Sunday. They'll take on the Thunderbirds, of course, and we'll be there to watch. Looking forward to seeing how their recruitment has gone.
That'll be an absolute blockbuster next Sunday afternoon. Of course, just the 2 games this round number 1, to kick-start the action in the 2011 ANZ Championship. On behalf of Liz Ellis, Ali Broadbent, and the rest of the team here at 10, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Enjoy your week, and we'll catch you next Sunday in Adelaide. Look forward to it.